Welcome to the Global International Pedagogical Forum, IPF 2021. My name is Karen, and I would like you to welcome our today's guest, Dr. Milind Gore, at National Institute of Virology in Pune, India, and coordinator of Indian sector at World Society for Virology. Dr. Gore, we are really happy that you find the time to join us today, and we really appreciate that you participate in the forum and ready to answer some of our questions. Welcome.
Thanks, Karen. As a presentation, I will say that I will introduce myself again in a detail in a science kind of thing. I'm Milind Gore, we call it Gore, not Gore. I'm from NIV, Pune. I worked on CMI initially on CMI in GBS, then shifted in Japanese encephalitis and flavivirus, etc. Worked on monoclonal antibodies, chimeric peptide vaccine, including polytope DNA vaccine, then eventually basic studies on immunology, on JE was there. We found that for others, we found that CD4 based is a dominant in JE, but so related virus, West Nile, it is CD8. In DNA vaccine, we found that a CMV promoter is diverting immune response to non-PC cells also. And that gives energy eventually. And we replace the CMV with the APC promoter and we got a good results. That is the way. In fact, eventually we made a vaccine with a JE vaccine, inactivated vaccine, commercially available in India, JE and VAC kind of thing. Okay, talking about the COVID, because the title which was given is problems in COVID vaccine kind of thing. So I'm converting some of the talk in that way. Now, one of the thing is, while studying on circulation of COVID, what happens is there is a COVID, SARS, MERS, alpha and beta human corona viruses. It was so they are all there. It was clear that immune response against COVID is linked with immune response against all the human corona vaccines, viruses, which are circulating, especially in 2 seasons in the all over the world. Between everybody knows that. When I started reading on the different clinical symptom of COVID, it looks similar to dengue serotype and whatever is happening. That was the first thought when I started reading. Immune response in both COVID or dengue leads to asymptomatic infection.
I'm afraid we're expecting some technical issues. We would have to wait for a couple of seconds or minutes because it seems that there is a bad connection of internet of our guest today. Apologies. Welcome to the Global International Pedagogical Forum, IPF 2021. My name is Karen, and I would like you to welcome our today's guest, Dr. Milind Gore at National Institute of Virology in Pune, India, and coordinator of Indian sector at World Society for Virology. Dr. Gore, we are very happy that you are joining us today in this interview. We really appreciate you took your time to participate in the forum and answer some of our questions. Thank you.
Again, there is something happening. I don't know what happens. Okay, I can listen to you. So, okay, so I'll introduce myself in the background where I have worked for last 40 years kind of thing. Is I worked on initially on GBS in CMI of GBS, then shifted to flavivirus immunology in terms of monoclonal antibodies, chimeric peptide and peptide vaccines or polytope vaccine eventually, and against the JE of course. And then there were basic studies also were done, and which made into a thing like that. And we got the data and published papers that the Japanese encephalitis is a CD4 based protection. But in West Nile, which is so clear related to virus, there is a CD8 response. And the DNA, we found that APC promoter, which is used routinely all over the world, is that vector is expressed in all the cells it interacts. And eventually, as per the immunology, there is eventually the same response which comes. It is a short term and there is an energy. So we converted CME promoter with the APC promoter, and then we got the great results. That is what where. And then I contributed in developing the inactivated vaccine against JE. We call it JE and VAC with Bharat Biotech, and now it is available in India and other places. So that is what I am.
All right. So about vaccine, I would like to talk a bit later during our interview. And to start with, that it's been already half a year or even a bit more since the COVID is spreading around the world. And actually, this pandemic has already spread almost around the whole globe. So the question that I would like to make clear for our audience is, what do you think about second and the third waves? Is it possible for them to come to these in this situation or not?
I mean, the thing is, as a rule, the coronaviruses come in between spring and winter, okay, autumn kind of thing. And I mean, winter to spring, there is a portion where it started in USA and other places. In Russia, it slightly delayed because spring end starts late. But there is a second wave of corona as a whole. It is not COVID, it is for all the corona. It is a second wave is in autumn. So that is what will happen now. So initially it was in the northern hemisphere, but when the thing started in it was late in South Africa. Now it is increasing. Now again the autumn will happen in USA and everywhere. So that is what is the routine in corona as a whole. So nothing specific, special about COVID.
All right. And for these 6 and even more months, we are already here for, constantly changing, let's call it symptomatic list, right? So in different cases, there are different symptoms, but as the result, it is diagnosed as COVID-19. So could you tell us, please, are there any proven, symptoms that we could say that for sure that's COVID-19? And another question would be why in different situations this disease has different symptoms?
As a rule, in any viral infection, and especially in something like flavi or influenza or lots of things, actually, even HSV kind of thing, everywhere there is an immune response which depends on the personal immune response, which can change. It includes the comorbidity kind of thing, hypertension or diabetes, and 1, 2, 3, 4. And then there is another things like stress, to be very honest. So it depresses the immune response. So once somebody has a depressed immune response, suddenly a shock kind of thing, HSV1, which is staying in the trigeminal, this thing, it comes out in the face or anywhere, and it can cause the disease again, latent in HSV. So everything is depending on the actual at that place, what is the immune response. As a rule, the autoimmune diseases in something like GBS and other thing happens in a particular portion of age. We call it 35 to 55. Our hormonal changes are happening probably, and so immune response slightly low, and something which is controlled by the immune response in the younger age, and it comes up and autoimmunity is there. So the symptoms are nothing to do with the virus, and it is with a personal immune response.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why, that is the reason, even the higher, above 75 also, they come out without any disease, asymptomatic or recovered very quickly. But diabetic, which are increasing, suppose in India, probably in younger population, and the rate is slightly higher of severity is there. So nothing to do with the virus, it is a basic immune system at that time.
Okay, that actually makes it a bit clearer. And another thing I would like to clarify for our audience, you know, we are all aware about washing our hands, keeping social distance as actually effective precaution measures. I would like to ask you, Dr. Gore, you as a doctor and as a professor, are there any proved precaution measures others than those that we already know about? For example, could the COVID-19 be killed by the ultraviolet light or by quartzing the premises or the clothes? Any suggestions?
I mean, the thing is, I mean, the Europeans or other places, the concept of crowd, a lot of people cannot understand the crowd which is there in the South Asia kind of thing or other places. I mean, the thing is, we have a habit of sitting together all over in the bus or whatever travel and all that. But that does not happen in, suppose in USA, Philadelphia to Washington by the train, Amtrak kind of thing. So only once in 2 years, there was a crowd where another lady could sit next to me. Otherwise, the next seat will be free always. So that kind of thing, crowd thinking is not there in there. Now in New York or other places, that is causing the disease. Because I also worked on SARS outbreak, which came slightly low, but it was there, and in NIV as a outbreak thing. So what happened was, in Hong Kong, one of the problem is people ask the question, Arizona, the rate of COVID increased suddenly. In a summer is very severe in Arizona. Okay, so I call it, because there is a central AC, because there is a cold air is circulating in entire house kind of thing, or a restaurant or 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever it is. Now that virus is circulating everywhere. So the central AC is one of the problem which we do not face in India mainly, usually in our homes and all that. We do not have the central AC. But so that's why those closing the malls and the theaters and all that was stopped in India, which controlled. The air circulation is definitely there. One, washing the hands is always required kind of thing. You can transfer anything anywhere. And there's nothing wrong with the methodology which WHO decided eventually. It appears it is not followed everywhere. Nowhere actually, to be very honest.
Dr. Gore, what is actually your opinion on tests for COVID-19? As we know, majorly there are two main types of tests nowadays. The first one is CPR, which is something like a swab from inside the nose or throat, which actually shows you if you have infection at this particular moment or not. And another one is the blood test, which actually helps to detect the antibodies in your blood for COVID-19. So my question is, in your opinion, are these tests actually informative and reliable?
I mean, the thing is, the system is there, at least in India, which NIV manages that. So we have, I think, 1,500 or 2,000 labs where the testing is happening all over India. And the report is coming to Government of India and NIV also. The rule is they have to send the positive samples to NIV to confirm it. Okay. And if a mistake repeatedly, okay, so we close that. That we do. I mean, that is one of the thing. And we closed it, improved their methodology, and again it can start. That is one way of authenticity is required many times. Now the problem is there is another thing in addition to it is a piece of the thing is there is now antigen kit testing kit also is there on spot kind of thing, 1 minute or 2 minutes kind of 1 hour kind of thing is there. So there is a fluctuation in that. But PCR, real-time PCR or RT-PCR is good. That is obviously good. In terms of IgM, I mean, terms of antibody, if you get a very acute patient, there will be IgM will be there dominating. But slightly late, the IgM will quickly decrease and IgG will come up. Now the confusion will happen in blood testing at what time. The sample has collected kind of thing. Especially in many places, including in India, the patient will suffer from in COVID infection, and there is a delay in getting the fever. Then the patient will, after taking a paracetamol 1, 2, 3, 4, it doesn't decrease. When he starts coughing and all that, then only the fellow goes to a hospital to test themselves. Now there is a delay of 10 days practically from infection to antibody. So the antibody will be dominating by that time will be IgG. And then the IgM, if at all it is there, it will be so low. So the problem is if the person comes immediately, if I think that I have contacted with a COVID person, then I will quickly within 1 day or 2 days, I will test myself. I will get a virus, or another 4 days, I will get IgM dominating. But if I delay it, then the IgG will come up, and then level will be okay. He has recovered, kind of thing. That is actually that is happening everywhere. The reports comes in TV and other places that the reinfection kind of thing. The patient was released, okay, clear kind of thing, and again they suffered. So this means that the virus was there, suppress completely, not completely, and then again it is not kind of latency is, I do not think it is there in RNA virus. Latency is not there.
Mm-hmm.
And doesn't appear to be persistence also is not there in RNA viruses. It is this way or that way happens. So
All right.
both tests are good in a way if done properly.
Okay, that actually makes sense. The other part, very important part of our today's interview, and actually it is one of your specialities, is the vaccine. So here and there, we heard in the past few months that a lot of countries are working on their types of vaccine. But a few days ago, on the 11th of August, Russia announced the first in the world registered vaccine for COVID-19. And other countries actually claim that it's impossible to create the proper effective vaccine for such a short period of time. So I would like to ask you, in your personal opinion, does that mean that the healthcare system and research system in Russia is much more developed and advanced than the rest of the world?
I mean, one of the first questions which is not coming out anywhere, I started looking around kind of thing. What is the composition of that vaccine which Russia is talking about? Because others are declaring that it is spike protein, somebody is saying that it is the whole inactivated vaccine kind of thing. To start with, the mention is like that. Like India, we have a DNA vaccine is there in India. We are taking the Oxford vaccine, bringing and production in India. That is true. Third is Bharat Biotech is declared that they are developing an inactivated vaccine. So that is the base. But I started looking for it. But the first thing is, what is the method composition of that vaccine is there? So if it is just inactivated, then the test can be very quickly forwarded, kind of thing. But if it is a protein or 1, 2, 3, 4 or attenuated or something like that, or vector based, I don't know, as Oxford is doing, then you require rigorous testing. So nobody knows what is the vaccine composition is, and so in a way, if you do not know what you are, I cannot comment on you. I mean, it's something like that.
But doesn't it sound a bit suspicious for you that the country announced very proudly that that's the first registered in the world, but yet there are not any evidence and scientific papers describing this vaccine, saying how describing the results of the tests? Like, could we trust this vaccine? For example, you yourself, would you vaccinate yourself and your family with that vaccine?
No, unless I understand what it is, I will this thing. But the thing is, China declared that they have developed a vaccine and they started immunizing their soldiers. So this is quite some time back. So nobody is asking that question. Why you are asking the question to Russia?
We would like to know the opinion of world specialists.
China declared that they have an inactivated vaccine, okay, and they're giving to their soldiers. So because they're healthy, 1, 2, 3, 4, and the side effects will be very less and all that. So naturally, they will get phase 3 plus or phase 4 level study also will automatically happen. So China declared that. But for public, the vaccine which they are still going through the phase 3 spike protein kind of thing, that they are not giving to the population yet. So that is a slightly some difference between these two. So,
all right.
So that is the problem.
Okay. And probably the last but not the least question is related to, that we've heard that this virus, this type of coronavirus actually is mutating, constantly mutating. So how would that affect on the vaccine, which is created, let's say, for some type of its mutation, or will it be covering the action of other mutations? How is that usually considered by researchers?
I mean, RNA as a rule, it mutates very rapidly, kind of thing. Okay, and now influenza, for example, it suddenly comes something up. Suddenly it comes up. In other viruses like even dengue, there is mutations are there, and the phylogeny kind of thing, whatever these people call, there's quite a huge. But as a whole, the many places, the more or less the virus is same. That is one. If it is very different, like pandemic influenza, then it causes a higher rate, or 1918 influenza. So in a way, because, but the problem is, because the population all over the world was completely naive to COVID, and the rapid multiplication is there, and the rate of multiplication will get will change eventually and stabilize after some time. So one should have a one step back and think, if it changes, what quickly I can change my product. So it can always happen. I mean, RNA, of course, there is we call it proofreading is not done in RNA multiplication. In DNA viruses, there is a proofreading methodology is there. But in HIV is mutating always. And but as a whole, the virus is same. So I mean, there's nothing. I mean, for a RNA virus, is nothing very special about it.
All right. Great, Dr. Gore. Once again, we would like to say thank you so much once again, sorry, for your time and for your opinion that you shared with us on these questions. We wish you all the best. Take care and have a nice day. See you later.
So before that, whatever the supposed to be the talk which was told to me, is it will be again happening again, or kind of thing, or this is all which will be there about this?
All right, so the 6 minute that you asked me at the beginning, that's the during the conference, right? Yeah. Which will be from the 30th of September and 1st of October. We're still working on the schedule.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So for this 6 minutes, actually consists of 3-minute presentation, 3 minutes questions and answers session with the media, with your colleagues from other countries and stuff like that.
No, so it says 6 minutes of talking and then questions.
Okay, maybe I'm a bit wrong. I would just. Yes, my colleague who is contacting you via email, she would say for sure. And so, yeah, and the topic of that presentation, in my understanding, is not based on these questions that we discussed with you today. It is as I understand that you have to choose your own topic that you would like to present based on COVID-19. But once again, just to be sure, I would suggest you to reconfirm all that with my colleague with whom you are emailing, and she would be able to say for you for sure about that. Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I mean, she will do it. She will do it
Yes.
eventually.